Hey John, how are you today?
I'm good, Ethan. I'm excited to talk about BI. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm excited too. We're going to be talking about BI in general and how it's transforming businesses, but we're also going to be talking about BI for NetSuite, a new tool that our sponsor GURUS Solutions is actually just launching. We have Neil Stolovitsky, our product manager, on board today, talk a little bit about what it is and why it's significant, what kind of businesses it's meant for. We also have McNicoll, our very own founder and CEO, on board today as well.
I'm excited to talk about the tool. I also want to know more about BI, exactly what it is, the differentiators
Yeah.
between BI and AI, and how they impact company and businesses.
Yeah, so why don't we hop right into it?
Let's do it.
Welcome to Guru's Cloud Connect, your one-stop tech talk where we discover the best business tools with the experts behind them. Filmed on set in a live setting with our gurus in Montreal. GURUS Solutions is North America's largest Oracle NetSuite ERP services provider. Visit their website at gurusolutions.com with your hosts Ethan Bozoglu and John Serino.
Thanks for joining us, Martin. Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while. It's great to have you again.
Always a pleasure.
And Neil, welcome. We're just going to jump right into it. BI, what does it really mean, and how does it really impact the business in 2020?
It's very interesting because if you dial back a couple decades, BI really had a specific kind of market and audience. In fact, it was larger organizations that were taking advantage of business intelligence, and you had to have a large IT department and lots of resources and pretty deep pockets, in fact, to get involved in the BI space. Today, it's a totally different picture. I mean, technology has evolved. The cloud allows any type of organization, whether it's a small company or a mid-sized company, they could take advantage of business intelligence, and they don't need to have a huge resource team. Small maintenance, pretty affordable, and it really, the cloud has provided an equal setting for any organization to get involved and start to take advantage of business intelligence, where you could analyze your data and really look at the why of certain trends and certain information coming into your organization.
I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions around buzzwords like BI and AI. I think some people, when they think AI, still think, hey, the digital robots from Star Trek. But that's not what it means in business today, is it? There's a truth to the reality and the application of stuff like AI and BI now in businesses.
Business intelligence is commonplace within organizations. Believe it or not, many organizations today are using business intelligence in the most basic ways. It's really just trying to figure out why certain things are happening within their businesses. And I hate to say it, but they're using spreadsheets to do that. There is so much access to so much information to today that you can do that. Now, are they doing it effectively? That's a question that you have to ask many organizations.
When we talk about business intelligence, this is really where people want to look for a pattern. They're looking for an answer. And they say, all right, this is awesome. I've got all those dashboards. Now, what if? Is there a correlation between A and B? And I want to slice and dice. And most often what happens is that you need external data to your operational system to do this. This is why business intelligence, most of the time, includes a data warehouse, where if you use just one system, you don't need a data warehouse, quite frankly. But when you start to use multiple systems, as I preach, in my book, and Scale Up Your Business with Cloud Technology, here's the little pitch here for the book. But if you look at it, then you got all those systems, all those best of breed systems, Salesforce, just to name one, that a lot of our customers have Salesforce for a CRM platform. And then you want to see, well, what's the effect of that campaign, or HubSpot, or other e-commerce tools? And you want to merge all that information, as some people would call this big data, but basically lots and lots of data. And you want to cross-link that information with your sales, and with the period, and with the promotion that you've got there. And I'm just talking about an e-commerce company, but there's many other patterns that you want to validate. And without all the information in one spot, this is where spreadsheets comes back into play.
I want to get a little bit into how is it a game changer, and what are some of the differentiators to a company that is, as Neil said, using it the right way, like successfully using it, making the best use of BI versus someone who's still on spreadsheets?
It's easier to get all of this for our customers in the mid-market space, where we decided to leverage, as an example, NetSuite authentication for people to get into their dashboard, because you don't want this to be like something outside where you need, a new user interface and people to log into a different platform. People come into NetSuite and it's easy to use, and it's really a software as a service, application where people can just say, I want BI, and here it is. So I would say that's a big difference of making it available, easily available. And we've got some also a lot of little goodies in our solution where for some people that are familiar with NetSuite, sometimes it can be quite tricky to get into your data model and trying to get all the data and try to match it with other sources. So we did a lot of work in the data model itself to make it accessible and easily comparable to other data.
Everyone has so much information at their fingertips. BI has become a necessity regardless of what type of organization, what size organization you are. In fact, like the leading companies in their specific industries, whether they're small companies, big companies, or large companies, are using BI to a certain extent to really be ahead of their, to be leading in their industries.
In the early research phases for a BI tool, you realize your need, but something like, GURUS Google BI tool for NetSuite can be a little bit intimidating at first if you're not totally aware of what's in the market. Is there a certain type of industry or company that you think is a right fit for a tool like Google BI for NetSuite?
What we're seeing in the NetSuite community, it's primarily data-intensive organizations. We're seeing a lot of uptick in like the e-tailers and retailers of the world, the warehouse distribution companies. They have lots of SKUs, lots of transactions. They have to look at their historics in order to make right decisions, right business decisions. And we're seeing a lot of interest there. And that's where we could think, we believe we could add value to the NetSuite community in those specific industries.
It doesn't limit itself to an industry or a company. It also goes right down to the users, right? How does a BI really impact the different users within a company?
Having BI across the organization is also going to trickle down to middle management, where they need to have the right information so they could guide their subordinates or people on the front lines to make those right decisions. And even those that are on the front lines, like someone in customer support, if you have a strong BI strategy and tools in place, they're going to have the right information. They're going to be able to serve their customers better. And at the end of the day, it's going to benefit the entire organization.
GURUS Solutions, the sponsor for a podcast, has just launched our own GURUS BI tool for NetSuite. What exactly is that, Neil? If you can talk a little bit about the product itself.
The Google BI for NetSuite solution was actually born from another idea. Originally, we had another we have an offering called the Data Exporter. And this particular solution was really driven by customer demand. There were a number of our customers coming to us asking for better ways to extract what they call safe searches out of NetSuite. And they were just having difficulties getting that information and doing what they needed to do with that information. And they wanted to extract that into a spreadsheet. So we came up with a very simple solution to a very simple problem, extracting that data into a spreadsheet in order to help some of our customers. Of course, we work with these customers on a variety of different challenges and problems they face. While they're working with those solutions, we've noticed that the data challenge they had was actually a very small part of a larger picture. There was actually a lot more challenges around the data that they needed to optimize in their organization. And it was really a BI challenge that they were facing, getting to the right information within the NetSuite platform. And that's really where Google BI for NetSuite was born, where we decided, let's come up with a product for the NetSuite community where they can have an efficient way getting to that data, putting it into a data warehouse in line with the NetSuite philosophy where everything is cloud-based, affordable, accessible, and that's what we did.
When we're talking about the data exporter, which is the predecessor for the Google BI tool, it's interesting that it's such a really simple tool, extracting data from NetSuite to use in other platforms or for your reporting. It's a really obvious limitation, but that tool since has become a raging success. We originally launched it as a free trial for a lot of companies, and then because popular demand, we had to launch several other subsequent products and services around it.
It started with some of our customers, wanting some, I'll call it crazy safe searches. Basically, if you're using NetSuite, you know that if you're trying to pull data from multiple sources or multiple type of record, to come up with one simple view of the world with all these different data, which seems to be interrelated, you'd say, well, I should be able to get to this data from that data. Sometimes it can be very complex, and it can be hours to create a safe search with SQL to get to your very specific demand. So this is where it came to. People said, well, we could just export that safe search to a spreadsheet and then just create lookup tables and VLOOKUPs and just, come up with your answer. And then people said, well, that's great. Thank you very much. But I need this to be used in a way that my operation team can rely on for different reasons. And this is where we came up, well, why not schedule those extract from safe searches, load them into a Google Sheet, and from there you can build, whatever report that you want afterward. And this is where they started to extract data from other sources, because they said, well, that's great. And I've got this extract from Salesforce. I've got this extract from my e-commerce site. I've got this extract from there. And now they arrive and they said, well, that's awesome, but I'm still in a spreadsheet. And that I don't like spreadsheets to run your business. So this is where we said, well, let's all bring this back. Let's just make sure that your single source of truth is still in NetSuite. Let's bring it back in NetSuite and make sure that this data is up to date.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the difference between BI and AI? Because sometimes they just get confused as industry buzz terms. Where is some of the overlap? Where do they differ? And how can we achieve that predictive element that you were discussing earlier?
I mean, the long story short is that if it would be easy, people would be doing it today, right? If it would be easy to get to your data or get to that conclusion, people would be, well, it's obvious. The reality is that it's not obvious. So where we get into the data warehouse, you store all your data. You get all this information, and then you might say, all right, so I've got this data. Can I come up with a conclusion? And sometimes you don't have the right numbers or the right data to come up with that. So what we've done is that we've put all those machine language or machine learning tools, and we have all those algorithms. But we work very closely with the university environment and the professors to make sure that when we have a problem, we find the right algorithm. And it is really a discovery process. And those professors and these PhD look at this and say, they're expert in their field. And they are the one that help us to come up with the algorithms and the right algorithm.
These algorithms are very sophisticated, and there's a lot to take into consideration. And we're currently working with one of your ex-colleagues, if I'm not mistaken, someone who has a lot of experience at the university level of building these out.
And that's really the leader in his field, and having a right mix of information on economics and understanding business and putting that into the math model. And he's really helping us in leading the way, making sure that we find the right algorithm. So that's a very, very interesting field, and we learn every day.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the sustainability of moving into a suite like the NetSuite Data Power tools?
The thing that we're doing is we're really going with the current trend and the current common knowledge, if you look into the industry, that data is going to just become more and more available within organizations. So the more data becomes available, the more companies are dependent on their data to be successful and to make decisions. Our tool sets is just going to become more and more important to those types of organizations. So we know that. You could see even in the recent months where everyone's working from home, we're highly reliant on our technology and all the data that we have at our fingertips. And that's just going to be a trend that's going to keep on rising. And it's in our opinion, the data power tools is really going to provide that kind of suite of solutions that are going to help you optimize your data. So today, what we're going to be delivering as data optimization tools may look a little different 3 to 4 years from now, but we know that it's something that the NetSuite community is asking for, and we're looking to evolve with that. And a good example is if you look at our one of our solutions, which is the data processor for NetSuite. In fact, what it's going to do, it's going to leverage our existing BI stack, which is a combination of a data warehouse, visualization tools, AI, and we're going to be speaking with our customers, building out specific functionality, verticalized solutions, addressing specific problems that these organizations are facing. And we know that these problems are going to be evolving, and based on what our customers are going to respond to what we're going to be delivering them, we're going to commercialize these products and make them available to the market if it makes sense.
Ultimately, whoever is moving into the cloud today with any tool that we build out for NetSuite, you're up to date at any point in time for as long as you own it.
This is not something that we're developing, in the back office and to release to the customer. It's really merging the best of all those applications and making them work properly in our customers' ecosystem.
The whole point of working with a Google is it really comes down to the business model. It really is in line with the NetSuite consumer. They don't want to have any maintenance with any of their software. They want to have ease of access. They need affordability. It needs to be all in the cloud. So Google is a natural fit in terms of how it could work with those in the NetSuite world, even those outside of NetSuite world. So most of our NetSuite customers have other applications, and they tend to be cloud applications as well. So having kind of that equalizer, that cloud platform that ties it all together, especially with Google, who's a leader in the cloud space, it just makes total sense to the product stack.
We have customers that, data privacy is super important. So for them, being with a vendor that can support those strict HIPAA or other requirements from their specific industry, well, we're there because we've got this partner who's Google that has all of that already. So the Google Cloud Platform is really helping us to propel our product and just be ahead of a lot of requirements and say, yep, check mark, we can do this for you in a secure and in a way that's easy for the customer to consume the data.
I would compare it to Adobe, where all of the design tools that they develop, they all do different things, but they integrate seamlessly as one part of one suite.
Neil talked briefly about a data processor who's not right now like something that's out of the box, and that we haven't developed like a commercial product that has a specific functionality, but we're using it to solve some very tough business problems that our customer have. And one of them is that when you have a very heavy data model with tons of data that needs to interact and with each other, and NetSuite is an ERP. It's an operational system. It's not a data warehouse. It's not a database where you can pull all crazy data that you want in it. And we have a customer that's really struggling with that concept. So we took the data out, put it in the Google stack, and we're able to process the computing needs that they have in minutes instead of days when they were within a scheduled script in NetSuite. And then we're returning the data, which makes it, it's interesting because now they say, well, I have to wait 3 minutes to get my results back from that data processing. And we just remind them, when you came to us, it took you 3 days. So it's very interesting to see how we can leverage the Google platform, and in this case, all the capabilities to really boost processing speed. And this is something we do for them. They pay for that, 3-5 minutes of like multiple CPUs and just go into the data, do all those searches, do all those calculations, and then bring the data back in NetSuite at a fraction of the time that it took them in the past. So that's just a great example of a variation on the same thematic, which is extract data from your operational systems, right? Because this one was on not only NetSuite, it was other type of data. Compute the data, return it to their home system, and then consume the information from there. So
we're doing all this, and then we're bringing it back into NetSuite, which is amazing. So
Yeah.
not only do you have the ability to do all this amazing analysis and computation, we have the expertise to bring it back into NetSuite, which is familiar to our customers, and our customers are able to take advantage of it within an environment they're familiar with.
And I think that's really the differentiator of our BI solution, right? The fact that you get all this data and you bring it all back into NetSuite at the end, and you have everything in one place, clearly in your core system.
And what we like is that, Ethan, is that the solution, we're really looking forward to the first use case where we'll be able to use artificial intelligence in all those calculations and to bring it back in something that is operational. So I believe that's what people will want to consume, is to embed artificial intelligence into operational data, not just in a fashion where I need to solve this problem now, look at all this data and come up with a model, but bring it back to NetSuite. So that we're really looking forward to bring that to the market.
Martin, Neil, I want to thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Neil, you guys were awesome. I think this has been a really value-heavy session for viewers. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to put a link below for Neil's blog. It's really good on the history, present, and future of BI applications. And I'm also going to throw a few other links, including a free trial link for the NetSuite Data Explorer that we talked about earlier.
Feel free to reach out to us. You can find us directly on Google just by looking us up, or check out the links below this video, or info@gurusolutions.com, and we'll be happy to put you in contact with someone who can answer all your questions.
Thanks for joining
John.
us.
All right.
Thank you.